What if I told you the scariest thing about horror movies isn't the monster, the ghost, or the killers, but the camera itself? Found footage horror didn't just show us the fear, it made us live it. From shaky cameras to screams in the dark, this genre has haunted us for decades. But where did it all begin? And which movie is the best? Grab your popcorn and maybe a flashlight, and definitely a barf bag, because we're about to dive into the entire history of found footage horror. Before shaky cameras became a staple of horror, the seeds of found footage were already planted. The first movie to ever experiment with the found footage style was the 1980 Italian film called The Cannibal Holocaust. A lot of people consider this movie as the grandfather of found footage. The movie not only uses extreme brutal realism, but was so convincing that the director was actually taken to court because people thought the kills in this movie were actually real kills. This movie was shot so well and made to seem so real in that found footage style that people genuinely thought people were dying for this film. Spoiler alert, no one actually died in the filming of this movie. Now don't go rushing to watch this one if you're a little bit squeamish. It's infamous for its graphic content. It set the blueprint for the fake documentary style movies that's a little bit too real for comfort. Fast forwarding to 1999, where we get a movie that truly put found footage on the map, The Blair Witch Project, which had only a $60,000 budget, which means they went into this movie with absolutely zero faith in it. But even with a very small budget, the movie grossed over $250 million worldwide. The marketing was genius. The movie made people feel like this was real. These filmmakers were actually lost in the woods. And what made the Blair Witch Project so effective was its minimalism. There's no special effects. There's no full monster reveal. Just pure dread and your own imagination filling in the gaps. Now look, for me, the Blair Witch Project was one of the most terrifying movies I've ever seen, because when I was a kid and watching this, I genuinely thought this was real. We had never really seen a movie that was that big use a camera and genuinely fear you with no cheap jump scares, no monsters, just pitch black woods. Now, of course, after the Blair Witch Project's massive success, found footage became the new hottest thing. In 2007, we got Paranormal Activity, and again with an immensely tiny budget, only $15,000. And the movie made over $190 million worldwide. And I can't lie, after this, everyone thought that their house was haunted. After watching this movie, any creaks, any cracks in your house, you genuinely thought there was a ghost. And I know I'm not the only one that after watching a movie like this, I always check behind the curtain in the bathroom. Maybe it's just me. But it wasn't just Hollywood. Found footage went completely international, with Spain's Wreck in 2007 and Norway's Troll Hunter in 2010. Wreck gave us zombies in a claustrophobic apartment building, while Troll Hunters made us question if trolls were actually real. Now, they're most likely not, but we don't really know. Found footage completely opened up the floodgates. With the way the movie was shot, we genuinely thought people were vlogging before vlogging was a thing, and everyone was convinced that whatever happened in these found footage movies could possibly be real. Now let's talk about some of the greatest found footage horror movies of all time. Of course, if we're talking about found footage, we have to talk about the grandfather of the group, the Blair Witch Project, which follows 3 student filmmakers who venture into the Black Hills Forest in Maryland to, of course, create a documentary. The documentary, of course, is about a local legend known as the Blair Witch. They interview townspeople about strange stories, weird occurrences, and even disappearances linked to the witch and the haunted woods. Armed with only a map and the camera equipment, they decide to go into the forest to investigate. That right there is a #1 key rule of horror movies. You're not prepared, don't go in the woods, especially if you don't know the land itself. And of course, in horror movie fashion, as the days go on, the group becomes completely hopelessly lost, and even encountering eerie symbols, including stick figures hanging from trees and even rock piles. And of course, with not only being lost in the woods, but also running low on your supplies, tensions are completely rising. I almost forgot, they also lost their map. Now, with them losing their map, running low on supplies, and freaking out because they're lost in the woods, in the icing on top, they start hearing strange noises, such as children laughing, branches snapping. Oh yeah, and one of the characters just completely vanishes. Josh just randomly walked off and has never been seen again, leaving our 2 main characters, Heather and Mike, completely alone. Now, in my opinion, the Blair Witch Project is the GOAT of all found footage because of the ending. Mike and Heather end up following Josh's screams into an abandoned house, where inside they find unsettling symbols and bloody handprints. Mike descends into the basement, where he's seemingly attacked off camera. Of course, in horror movie fashion, Heather then follows him, only to find Mike standing in a corner, completely motionless. She then screams as something attacks her, and the footage abruptly ends. That is how you do found footage. The movie just ending like that, it doesn't get any better. You then, of course, have to talk about Paranormal Activity, which is proof that ghosts do move in your house when you're asleep. The movie follows a young couple who just moved into a brand new suburban home. Kate believes that she's being haunted by a malevolent presence since her childhood, which then forces her partner to set up cameras to document the paranormal activity. Now, at first, they just start hearing creaks, doors moving, and things like that. And over time, things start to escalate. They then, of course, hire a psychic who warns them of a demonic presence in their home. Now, this is all being shot on that found footage style, on that VHS camera, and advises them not to play with the Ouija board that they planned on. Kate's partner then completely ignores this, and after using the Ouija board, the disturbance, of course, escalates, because the demon is now leaving physical physical evidence, such as footprints and scratches, and things start to become intensely violent, and of course targeting Kate. And if we're gonna talk about demonic, we have to talk about possession, because Kate ended up getting possessed. She's showing signs of possession. Now mind you, as I said, this is all caught on camera. The climax of the movie does show Kate fully possessed. She then murders her partner off screen, throwing his body into the camera's view. She then stares into the lens with a sinister smile, before the screen goes completely black. That is how you end a found footage horror movie. Now mind you, made on a $15,000 budget. Now we've talked about ghosts, we've talked about demonic spirits. But what about zombies? We have to talk about Wreck. The movie follows a TV reporter and her cameraman, filming a segment about firefighters for a late night TV show. And all of a sudden they get trapped in a building, where a woman violently is attacking people. And of course, she's a zombie. Now, as the infection spreads, residents become more aggressive. The building is then quarantined off, trapping everyone inside. And these two are documenting the whole entire thing. And it seems like everyone's getting picked off one by one and becoming infected as well. They discover the source of the outbreak is a young girl, infected by a virus linked to demonic possession. Now we're talking zombies and demonic possession. Don't get much crazier than this. And the most terrifying part of this whole entire movie is when Angela and Pablo end up going into the attic, where they end up encountering a ghoulish figure, which seems to be the origin of the virus. Pablo is then attacked and killed, leaving Angela alone. The film then ends with Angela being dragged into the darkness as her camera is recording. Now I know y'all have all seen the clip of her being dragged. It left me completely shook. Now we've talked demons, we've talked zombies, we've talked ghosts. What about monsters? Cloverfield. The movie premises around our main character Rob Hawkins, who's throwing a farewell party before he moves to Japan, when it's completely interrupted by a massive explosion in Manhattan. And what was that giant explosion? A massive monster has landed in the middle of Times Square, destroying buildings and killing people all around. And as the group tries to escape, they encounter military forces trying to battle the creature. The group then decides to rescue their one friend Beth, who ended up not going to the farewell party and is currently trapped in her apartment. Now as they face numerous dangers, including smaller parasitical creatures that drop from the monster. I'm sorry, Beth, but I'm not coming to save you if Godzilla is attacking Manhattan. You're cooked. And after their journey to try and save Beth, they do end up rescuing her, but lose several friends along the way. The group then seeks refuge in Central Park as the military launches their final assault. Rob and Beth record their final moments, professing their love for each other as the monster approaches. The tape then ends abruptly, leaving their fate up to interpretation. That is how you do it. But hear me out. There's at least 6 people in this group, and 99% of them died trying to rescue Beth. Man, forget about Beth. And if you can't tell already, with the movie ending abruptly, that is the found footage way to end a movie, kind of leaving it up for interpretation. Like a lot of these movies. Did the characters actually die at the end? We don't know. And now that we've talked about ghosts, demons, zombies, giant kaijus in the middle of New York City, we have to talk about terrifying VHS tapes, which of course have to do with VHS 2012, which is an anthology of nightmares. The movie premises around a group of criminals who break into a house to retrieve a mysterious VHS tape. Inside, they find a dead body surrounded by this stack of tapes. As they search, they play several of the tapes, each containing a horrifying story. Now look, the VHS franchise has completely teed up over the last couple years, and I'm gonna be the first to say it. I think the original VHS might be the best, with one of the first tapes being called Amateur Night, where a group of men bring a strange woman back to their hotel room, only to discover that she's a monstrous creature. Now hear me out, if you were hired to go and get these tapes, why are you watching them? The second tape is called Honeymoon, which premises around a couple on a road trip as they're stalked by a mysterious figure, leading to an absolutely shocking betrayal. Now I'm not gonna completely tell you what these tapes are about, but the second one is insane. The third tape is called Tuesday on the 17th, which follows a group of friends that visit a lake, only to be haunted by a glitchy, supernatural killer. Now these tapes are very similar to the Sinister tapes, at least in my opinion. Different families, different people, different killers, all the same terror. The fourth tape is called The Sick Thing That Happened to Emily When She Was Younger, which depicts a woman's video chat with her boyfriend, revealing her belief that her apartment is haunted. And the truth is far more sinister. I can't trust the boyfriend, all I'm gonna say. And the fifth and final tape is called 10/13/98, which is October 31st, 1998, which depicts a group of friends that stumble upon a cult ritual in a haunted house on, of course, Halloween night, evidently completely disrupting it, with, trust me when I tell you, dire consequences. Today, found footage is still going extremely strong, with indie films like Host, which brought horror into a Zoom call. I'm gonna tell you right now, Host might be one of my favorite movies ever. It's genuinely crazy to see someone on a Zoom call being killed while you're watching it. You also have a movie called Outwaters in 2022, which ended up taking us to the desert for some kind of cosmic horror. And it genuinely seems like the genre is continuing to evolve. Love it or hate it, found footage horror isn't going anywhere. It's cheap, but it's effective. And it's the closest thing you'll get to living a horror movie without signing a waiver. My question is what's your favorite found footage horror movie? Let me know if I missed any that you want me to cover. Whatever the top comment is on this video, I will make that my next video. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to see. But hopefully you guys did go and enjoy today's video, and if you did, don't forget to smack a like on it. That'd be greatly appreciated. Comment down below what else you guys want to see on the channel. Like I said, whatever the top comment is will be the next video. Thank you guys so much for all the recent support on the channel as well. It truly means the world to me. This is the first video of 2025, and just know, this year is gonna be insane.